Hey everybody, this is Sadie K. Frazier from the Daily Escape Podcast.
Hi everybody.
Today I have...
Ooh.
Who are you?
Some random guy? No. Stephen St. Clair off the Crafted Quill podcast.
That's right. Who also just happens to be my hubby. So we started something... Have we done one or two? Just one? Last Sunday we decided... Well, we did an impromptu podcast a couple weeks ago. And then we decided last Sunday when we were sitting here drinking coffee that we would maybe do a podcast, just talk about some random things. And we ended up talking, I think, for almost an hour. So
we did say we were going to do more often.
Yep. So this Sunday, he had the idea to do it again. And we decided that we were going to officially make this a thing as a co-podcast on Sundays. We should just say weekend because if it happens to be Saturday, whatever, but... So we are entitling this Have Coffee Will Travel Edition. And today we're actually going to be talking about exploring your life's purpose when your purpose is questioned. So how many of you out there know exactly what you want to do with the rest of your life? Stephen raised his hand, but then he put it down. I know exactly what I want to do with my life, but I'm not there. So then the other caveat to this is, how do you get there? Once you're questioning that, what steps can you take to get there? So, we did a little bit of self-searching lately, reflecting, trying to figure out where we want to go. We have a lot of things going on in both of our lives, and I don't think either one of us, if we're honest, are where we want to be in our life. What do you think?
I think life is just one continuous maze in all directions, and each turn that you make represents a new challenge, and it's up to you to accept that challenge by proceeding or turning and going back.
True. And I feel like in my own case, I know exactly what I want to do, but I sometimes find it easier to take the easy route, and I throw up my hands and I say, this is too hard, I can't figure it out, or things aren't going like I expected them to, so I just kind of give up before I even start. So anyway, in talking about exploring our life's journey, we decided that maybe we needed a little bit of inspiration, because I think I went through writer's block here not too long ago that was like debilitating, and you finished a book in the meantime. We got your book edited. I'm about 3/4 of the way done editing my book. And in the middle of all this, all these other things are going on in my head that are leading me towards what I feel is my purpose. But I have a lot of questions. There's some changes going on at my job that are making me question things. I'm just, it's like you find yourself at that fork in the road again, like we always do, and you're not sure where to go or what steps you can take to get there, because I feel like sometimes I step in front of myself and I don't listen to my gut.
Should call it the Robert Frost conundrum.
Right?
Kind of like we used to do Mangione syndrome.
Yep. How many times in each of the books I've written or in my own life do I keep saying, here I am at a fork in the road again. So what did we do yesterday to get some... It was kind of accidentally on purpose again. We went for a drive.
We're supposed to be... keeping our spending to a minimum. and
I even said, let's not spend very much money when we go in here.
Yeah, I don't remember how we started. Usually we slept in a little bit. We had morning breakfast. We kind of plotted out our day. And what did we do Friday night?
We wrote. No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
I have no idea what we did.
Did we work? No.
I don't know.
Wow. Normally we write on Friday nights or... whatever we need to do author-related. For some reason, though, we didn't. I think... Oh, I know what we did. We were looking at travel stuff.
Oh, yeah. We planned our trip to the East Coast.
So the consolation was, okay, if we do this tonight, tomorrow we have to write. Well, then one thing led to another. We had to go somewhere,
We went and picked up your prescription, and then we went for a ride.
Yeah, I had my annual physical, and it's still decent. Picked up my prescription, and then I told my wife, I said, hey, let's take the long way home. And usually that's my clue for her to, I don't want to go home. So we drove in our historic blocks, And I asked her the question. I was like, hey, I wonder if Dory's Crystals is open.
We've tried to go there before, and every time we've gone, she's always been closed.
It's a very random set of hours, I think. We just never really fully committed to going. But this time, however, we did. And we walked in, and it's a little tiny shop. It's really cute. Got stuff, wall to wall.
For those of you who live where we live and know where it's at, it's in the Bayless Park area, kind of right on the corner where Godfather's used to be. So it's very cute. So we decided that we would walk around and see what might inspire us. So we each picked a few crystals out.
And by walk around, we mean turn to the left and walk 10 feet and you're done.
Yeah, it's not very big.
It's not a big shop, but...
So one of my crystals that I got was a blue aura quartz. And I got it not for I have fibros, so it says it will help with focus and alleviate pain and tension of muscles. But I got it more for the emotional connection with it. It says it clears negativity, depression, helps you gain clarity, overthinking, and abundance. The second one I got was an emerald. Again, it helps with heart, liver, lungs, spine, colds, fever, cancer, but I got it more for the emotional connection and the spiritual connection. The emotional was abundance, compassion, grief, inspiration. Spiritual connection was clairvoyance, mental clarity, managed synchronicities, which I believe that part is already working.
Yeah.
I also
why here in a minute.
Yeah. I also got a lion skin jasper, which is to enable courage, determination, go after your goals, combat stress, fear, and anxiety. It also enhances intuition, attunes your third eye, and for abundance. So, and you got a couple of quartz ones, I believe, too.
Yeah, I wanted to get quartz because I know that they have, if any of you remember back in depending on how long you've been around for in this life, they use quartz crystals as circuitry. So I thought, they're good for energy transference. Mm-hmm. And I watched a lot of Ancient Aliens, and they throw that in there quite often. But I didn't grab my papers, but that's okay. It's not what I wanted to really focus on. It was more walking in with nothing, walking out with a lot of somethings. We weren't planning on it, and that's kind of how life is. You walk into something not having very much, and when you walk away, you have more than what you started with.
I kind of let my intuition guide me as far as which of the crystals that I felt spoke to me and what I'm going through in my life. So we had some oracle cards before that we used, but they weren't very, I can't remember the name of them. They weren't very purposeful, or they didn't really guide you. It was a past, present, future 3-card spread, which is fine, but they didn't really, I don't know, I didn't connect with them like I did with these.
Well, and to backtrack a bit, we were looking at crystals, and I turned around, and as I turned around, one motion, I'm like, I wonder if they have tarot cards.
Yeah.
And not to confuse with what we ended up getting, we did not get tarot cards. They're not specifically called that. I think the more usable term is oracle cards. So we ended up grabbing, what's the name of this one?
The Enchanted Map Oracle Cards and Guidebook, and it's by Colette Baron Reed, R-E-I-D, if anybody wants to see if you can find them on Amazon. But it's a 54-card deck and guidebook. So we just I think you have to read the guidebook first, which is, we've never read the other ones. Like the old set that we had. We never
I think we read just enough to know what to do, but maybe
it also didn't have
deeper
any
meaning.
descriptions on what each card meant or anything that. So
those cards weren't numbered. These are numbered and labeled with explanations, and it's all, and there's a whole process to making everything work. Like, you have to shuffle the cards 11 times. You have to say a silent prayer with a little bit of envisionment in your mind's eye.
Set an intention.
And then the way Sadie and I did it, we each So Sadie shuffled. She splayed them out in her hand like she was playing cards, and then just ran her fingers across until one caught her. She would draw it. And then
I also was given 3 numbers, and I picked those 3 cards first. And then we picked each a question also to focus on. We've never done a 6-card spread before, which was really cool. So my question was, what is the next right action that will help me progress towards my path? And I have a hard time just throwing caution to the wind and being like, yeah, let's jump. I am very methodical in the way I think. I plan everything out. I can't make a leap like that without having all the facts. And I know that, but also in my heart, I want to just jump to that new place. I'm tired of being stuck. I'm tired of being in the shadows, and I want to just jump to get where I know I need to be. And surprisingly, when I listened to my cards and what they read, that's not what it said. It pretty much took me back to my past and past trauma and said, you need to deal with your crap right now. You need to be still and listen. You need to heal.
it was more or less one of those like, not necessarily a coin flip, or a I always say it wrong, horoscope, but it was blind slate for you, clean slate.
Yeah.
Because you're letting this, and please don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say here. We were letting the flip of the card, and these cards are not meant to be absolute. They are, in the instruction booklet, I don't remember the specifics, but it literally just, it says these are not meant to be direct guides. They are simply keys or tools to aid you in your
A
search.
guide to explore the path you're on.
So, and like everything else, you don't ever, like when I would do genealogy, I never take just one source of information as absolute. I always compare, like, okay, I need at least two more. I do rule of three. You get one, you got to do two. To check the two, you got to do three. And if all three line up, plus or minus just a little bit, but you don't lose the meaning overall, and I think with yours, I was surprised. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Mine pretty much told me exactly how I've been feeling, because I've been needing to, I'm in the process of revamping everything that I'm doing in my life. So all of it leads back to go back and deal with your trauma first. And I keep pushing forward and trying to help other people, and I keep coming back to that same thing.
How many times do we start and stop because something in our past is still undealt with? It's like that one dark corner of your life or your bedroom that something's there, that's more or less your pile that you haven't dealt with. And guess what? You're gonna deal with it.
Mine pretty much even said that on like the 4th card, didn't it? Something about you're here to relearn the lessons that you didn't deal with in the first place. So we're just going to keep repeating this cycle. And it actually told me on, I think, the 2nd card, when it talked about what your purpose is in the future, you are on the right path. You're doing everything that you need to do, but you need to basically rein it in, deal with these things, be silent, and learn to listen to your gut and your instincts.
Which is weird, because my favorite scripture, and I'm not a churchy, religious-y type person, but one of my favorite scriptures is the one in Psalms that talks about be still. And it goes into a whole verse, but for me, it's always been the first 2 words, be still. And in today's ever spinning out of control societies that we live in, sometimes you need that psalm for your life that just says, hey, be still.
That's right. So I guess what I learned from doing these oracle cards and in our conversations we've had lately is that I need to go back and retrace my steps to understand how I got here, how I need to deal with the things I need to deal with before I can chart a new course and move forward. And we recently talked the other night. So let's backtrack here a little bit into the beginning of last week. We had this conversation on Sunday. We did the podcast. A lot of things happened at my work this week that made me question what my future looks like now. And just in life in general. But I posed the question to myself, probably was it Sunday night, I believe, Monday night, because I was off on Monday. I posed the question to myself or to whoever was listening, show me the way. Show me which way I'm supposed to go, because my gut is all tied up in knots right now, knowing that I am not exactly where I'm supposed to be. My purpose is not being utilized the way that I want it to be in helping others. I'm almost done with my trauma and recovery practitioner license. I want to be able to use that. I just don't know where to go and what to do with all this. Doors need to open. Right now I'm looking through the window, but the doors aren't quite open yet. So show me the way to get through to this next path of my life and get through the obstacles I need to face to get there. So I get to work on Tuesday morning and I see an email alert that says, hey, Mel Robbins has a new podcast out. And for any of those who don't know, please go look her up. It's the Mel Robbins podcast. She is a lifesaver. She's one of my biggest inspirations for anything in my life. She's raw. She's real. She will tell you the truth. No holds barred. So I see this bonus episode and I'm like, sweet, because I love to listen to her while I'm at work and I'm working. So I pop in the headphone and she basically is talking with a special guest, Amy Porterfield, who I've also followed with like coursework and stuff like that. And the name of their podcast was 2 Weeks Notice. And it basically, I can't remember the exact wording of it now. I should have pulled it up. But it was basically like, are you questioning your life's path right now? Do you find that there's more out there to life than, that you want, and you feel like you're being held back by your current situation? Now is the time to jump. Just believe in yourself. Take the wheel by the whatever, take the bulls by the horns. Take the wheel into your own hands and just jump forward. So that was just another indication this week, before we did the oracle cards even, that I was kind of right on in what I was thinking. It's one of those synchronicity things, like it said. I mean, it was even the music that I downloaded for this podcast, I saved it at 11:11 this morning. Maybe it doesn't mean anything to other people.
What did Dory call those numbers? Angelic numbers?
Yeah, angelic numbers. But it's synchronicity is what it is with the universe. So anyway, apparently I'm supposed to wait for the right time. So I need to deal with my stuff. Also on the Mel Robbins podcast a couple weeks ago, she had the holistic psychologist on there, Dr. Nicole LaPera, I believe is her last name. But she talked about this book, How to Meet Yourself, the workbook for self-discovery. And it takes you through the beginning of your childhood, through your adult life, and helps you deal with your trauma. And the question she posed is, are you ready to meet yourself? So while we're exploring our life's journey, that begs the question, are you ready to meet yourself? And I think part of my answer to that is, I'm not sure.
Yeah, what's
like, I don't know what part of myself I want to meet. I'm not ready to meet myself where I am right now without dealing with a lot of stuff first.
Where does the saying come from? Know thyself?
Yeah.
I think that's been said maybe in a movie or something, but that holds true to everybody's path. And as you climb the mountain of your life, and that's just obviously proverbial, but your life could be straight, in a desert or long road, windy road. But as you climb or go through your life's path, it is indeed a search to discovery. Because if you don't learn some things along the way, boy, do you have a boring climb.
Very true.
If you live a sheltered life, you're not really pushing the your means, your living, your whole being. When in going with what Sadie was saying about getting to knowing yourself. Last year, when did we start walking? Was it May?
May, yeah.
May. I was, if you look at my physical forms, my medical paperwork, it says I'm morbidly obese. To me, that says a whole different...
Mine just says obese.
Mine, though, said morbidly, and to me, it's
embarrassing.
It's an ugly word.
It is.
And,
it's embarrassing. It's like, how did we get here?
And I'm not tall. According to my physical Friday, I'm 5'8.25", so I'm not super tall.
And you got to realize that these words came out of, I don't know. I am not that overweight compared to a lot of other people. You are not morbidly obese. To me, morbidly obese is like a 500, 600 pound person.
Morbid to me means like you're on death's doorstep.
Yeah.
And I'm not, God willing, knock on wood. I'm broad shouldered. I have good musculature, even though I'm out of shape. But you
got the body of a linebacker, as our old doctor used to say.
I'm thick-necked. But so we started a journey last year, and we didn't know it was going to be a test, but it ended up being a test.
The journey started with me being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Yeah. I didn't expect that. I expected it from you.
And you're, because I've never eaten.
He eats sweets, he eats ice cream, it did.
But I have tapered down.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, like, prior to that point, I expected your sugar levels to be off the chart. I expected your cholesterol to be high compared to how we each eat. It wasn't, and it still isn't for you.
It's still not. It's not ideal, but it's not bad either.
Yeah.
So when we spent all spring, there were twice we challenged ourselves. The first time was very bad in very exhaustive ways, but we weren't prepared. So
we still did it.
All spring, all summer. Did we do all fall? Almost all the way through fall. I lost a total of 20 pounds. I think my heaviest was, I'll just say 320. Dropped to briefly for a half a second, 298. And then winter hit. My hours at work increased a lot. And even though we have a treadmill and an exercise bike downstairs, we kind of went into hibernation mode. And so I packed back on 10 pounds. So I guess the good part is if I apply myself just as much, if not more, this spring and summer, and I lose 20 pounds, wouldn't that mean I would drop down to 290?
True.
If I stick to that 20 pound thought, and my goal is to get down to 275. So, and you're asking yourself, why is he talking about weight loss? Because in any journey in life, there is a type of transformation you must undergo. And there's a mental aspect, there's a physical aspect, there's a spiritual aspect. Like when Sadie and I went our very first hike, which if there's a whole nother podcast we talked about that was a bad.
Yeah.
It was on a Sunday. We don't do stuff that strenuous on a Sunday, the day before we go to work. But we went on a hike, and we could have stopped at the height of that hike and been good, because we reached the summit, which, we live in Iowa. There's not much summit around. But we could have stopped. But no, let's just go. There's another fork on the road. It was always what's on the next corner. And that's a lot of what life is like. But we challenged ourselves. We broke ourselves to pieces. And I remember we went up a lot of hills, and we went down a lot of hills.
I felt like we went down forever thinking, oh, this is easy.
Yeah. But then when we got to a point where we didn't see any kind of switchback or turnaround, it just kept going and going and going. I got to the point where I was like starting to realize we were going to have to turn around and go back the exact same way we came.
Which means that left that last bit of that trek all back uphill.
Yep. And the problem with that is, like a lot of things in life, going back the same way you came, you're going to relive a lot of things that you don't necessarily want to go through. And it's going to hurt probably twice as bad, because you now have already gone through it once. You have to relive it. So I think Sadie and I were at one of the last huge inclines, and like I said, I was out of shape. When you go for a workout, you never tackle the bear right out the gate. You work your way up to it. We did not work our way up to it. And I'm like, honey, I don't know if I can make this. And there was a part where we could have, there was a house kind of attached to the property we were hiking at.
We could see the road.
And it specifically said no trespassing. And I'm like, if we could just pass through there, we'd be home free.
Mm-hmm.
But we
didn't take the easy way.
No,
though.
we did not take the easy way, even though it would have probably got us shot. So what saved us at that last bit of incline, the hardest part, I said, hey, I'm going to put some music on my phone. I needed that mental break. I need that separation, and I needed a rhythmic. What's the right word? Something to distract my brain from the hell that I was about to go through again. And if you watch, is it on a vlog? Mm-hmm. There's a vlog that Sadie put out a while back that basically chronicalizes that particular trek, and
I think it was called "The Journey of 1,000 Miles Begins with One Step."
I felt like 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
We got back to where we're going, and we could see where our car was, and it was, we got that, like, it was beyond, we were beyond a second wind at that point. It was like 50th wind, and I felt energized because I knew we were going to make it, and that is a lot like your life's journey. When you have to relive a traumatic instance or instances, hopefully you have enough thought in your brain left to realize there is going to be a point when I am out of this trauma. Mm-hmm. I will come out of this. And do you remember, this kind of fits with that note that I wrote you last week. Mm-hmm. I knew Sadie was having some problems kind of lighting the fire underneath her butt. But I basically wrote to her, before I even started on my writing, I basically, and I don't remember exactly what I said, but this is a summarization. Basically, when the book you have written is done and all the lessons have been learned, you'll then turn to yourself and look in the mirror and tell yourself, I knew I could do it. So sometimes when you're relearning the lessons you didn't learn the first time, which goes with your card, you'll go through the second and your third, and there's bits and pieces of, when you go through life going through lots of crap, and you're like, you got to put on your armor, like, I got to deflect all this. Sometimes, unfortunately, people, you have to go into the battle without the armor.
Yeah. That's where I'm at now, is taking off that armor, and then it's like, now what do I do?
Sometimes the armor actually deflects the good bits that you need. And
that's a good way to look at that. It not only protects you from the pain, but it also shields you from receiving the good things that you need.
To learn the lessons in your life. And to kind of jump to mine just for a brief second, because it does correlate. I don't remember what card I got. If you'll bear with me, I will pull it up real quick. Did I even take pictures?
Yeah.
It's not showing up. Mine had to deal with grief.
Yes.
And it must be on yours. It's okay, it's not on there. More or less, there's one particular card that said basically it dealt with a family tragedy.
Yeah.
Now, that's awful specific, and it's actually true. And my dad passed away January 28th, I believe, of last year of 22. And why is that specific to me? And because there is a lot of baggage there. I grew up with, he adopted me when he married my mom. I took his last name, and he was my dad through my whole life. But we did not have a relationship growing up. He was very much opposite of what a dad should be. So that left a lot of baggage, and I think even at some point I got to the point where, like, I don't even care. And I don't know that that's a good way to do that, but it was the only way I could release myself from holding on to that, as I said, dark corner of my room. And so as I drew that card, which is similar to the card that Sadie drew about going back and relearning the lessons, I don't necessarily need to go back and relearn the lessons, because the only lesson there was that I had a crappy dad. So,
but that doesn't mean there's not a lot of trauma.
so yeah, I have to deal with that trauma. And I guess actually there was a lesson. It was be better than what I was given in life. So, I had to learn a little bit about myself. Like the book that Sadie was talking about is, what do I need to do to know myself truly? And how do I separate the pain from the pleasure, the good from the bad? And as I separate that, who's coming out on the other side? Do I, how much of a struggle is it going to be getting out of my chrysalis to be the new me? And I don't think you could ever really get rid of the old you, because in saying that, you are denying yourself the lessons or that you learn from. You need to always keep a hold of that, and actually it becomes your grounding rod. Like, this is where I came from. This is who I used to be. And you need to learn from your history, your historical mistakes,
and learn to not be ashamed of that past too. Those lessons have led you to where you are. Like, I've been through some things that I wish never happened, but I would not change any of them, because I would be a different person today. I would not probably have this same purpose had I not gone through those same things where I feel like I could help others get themselves out of it. And it's a lot easier to help others than to say, here's your path, here's how I can help you. It's facing ourselves that is the most difficult part.
And it's funny how all of this for you has pushed you into what you want to make a career. Like, there's other people that grow up, I aspire to be this, I want to be an astronaut. But you don't grow up traveling through space. You're already an astronaut. You grow up because you watched someone else and you're like, I want to be like that person. You are taking what happened to you growing up. You are already an astronaut as a kid. You were traveling through the black holes of various places
trauma
in your
and grief
life.
And pain and loss.
And you're saying, I'm going to take that thing which hurt me the most, and I'm going to make it my own, and I'm going to help other people make their trauma their own, so that they too can grow and become better.
Yep. And that's kind of my theme for this year, is to help others find their voice. I have never had my own voice. Even now, my voice stems from you.
Me?
My courage, when I feel like I can step out and say the things that I want to say, still come from you.
Yeah. So speaking of voices, you got something coming up in June that's going to help
I do.
Other people's voices.
Which is also going to be, I'm trying to deal with my own stuff as much as I possibly can before that point. And I wish I could. I don't think I can do this at the same time and pull up what I want to pull up and read and still record at the same time. So I'll have to post it down below. But it's a prologue that I apparently wrote at some point about getting to where I want to get someday, and realizing that I've been waiting for the time to be perfect. I've been waiting for the time to be healed before I could share my purpose with others. And now I've decided that I will focus on finding my own voice, standing on my own, dealing with my pain, my past, my trauma, while I'm writing my story, help you rewrite the story of your life as well. And that's what the library event that's coming up in June is about. It's about, I think she said the main focus was finding your voice, but basically saying that our voices have power, whether we write, whether we use art, whatever we create, our voices hold the power to change our lives. And that's what I want to help others do, is not skirt around the truth, not hide from your demons, but to face them head on, make it through from trauma to recovery, and then rewrite the story of your lives, because you are the author of that life story. No matter what you choose to pen, the pain, the truth, denial, you can hide from it all you want, but it's always going to be there. So it's your choice to choose whether to pick up that pen and use that story for good or to stay stuck in the past. And I'm choosing to move forward and explore my life's journey through trauma and recovery instead of living in the past and letting it define who I am. So, this is a lot heavier topic than we planned on talking about today, probably, huh?
I guess so.
Welcome to Have
Happy
Coffee
Sunday.
Will Travel with Stephen and Sadie.
Not every Sunday is going to be as heavy, but we would be amiss to not talk about things that come up, like the oracle card that we each drew. And please remember, things like this aren't meant to be direct divination. They're not
absolutely.
They're not the absolute. They're not. You have to do this or you will. ... This is merely one of those, and either one of us could have drawn cards that don't apply at all. Mm-hmm. The thing about this, though, it is, if it says in the directions, what did it say? Something about if the card you draw is unclear, take another card. But at the same time, life's not like that. You can't just simply, I don't like the hand I was dealt with. Sometimes you have to deal with what's in front of you in order to proceed on down the road.
That's right.
And so we bought actually two decks of cards. One's a little bit, the other one's called the Dragon Fae. We don't have it in front of us. We didn't want to do them at the same time because we didn't want to, as the saying from Ghostbusters is called, we didn't want to cross streams. So I hope that makes sense. If you are looking for a little bit of direction in your life, I would very much encourage you to seek direction, but also jump on Sadie's podcast, jump on her webpage.
InPursuitOfPurpose.org. We have a lot of information on there.
She has some really good, she has a few books out that are really good, but there's one that I really liked called Love Sam.
Yep.
But you have that in the works too, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I have a sequel to that coming, but now I hope
someone needs to finish.
Yeah. By the first week in March, I believe March 8th, I hope to have out Fragments of Hope, which is also, I see myself in that book as well. It's her journey through grief, like literal grief, but there's also a lot of learning that I have done in helping her work through her issues. It's like I related to that character and I took her from one side of grief to the other, and I needed to follow through and take myself on that journey now too. So
and I just put out a book, almost said it again, it is February 7th, not January 7th.
Yeah.
It is called The Sight of Love, and it is it's an adventure romance, but it centers around, it opens up with a woman named Anne. She was a former police officer that was injured in the line of duty. She was involved in a gun battle, and a muzzle flash went off in front of her, and it blinded her. And the story opens up with her sitting in an optometrist office with her service dog, Sarge, and she didn't quite get the diagnosis she was hoping for, but her sight had improved a little bit. And that is a lot like life, where sometimes you're dealt a certain hand of cards that some of those cards you can't see clearly. Mm-hmm. So you just have to take what you have and start trekking. And then in Anne's case, a neighbor moved in, and her friend mentioned how good looking he was. Typical romance book stuff. But this is one of those stories, obviously fiction, but there were some lessons that had to be learned: humility, patience, love, trust. And the thing about love that Anne dealt with is that she was having a hard time understanding why her new love, Jameson, would want to be with her when she was blind, and they were both a young, happy, young couple. And what did she have to offer? And he more or less said, because there's more to you than just being blind. And she had a hard time believing that, and that
more to the pain behind her scars.
That's right. There was a part that it was one of those, like, I can't believe I wrote it because I don't know where it came from, but she was struggling with her identity as a blind person and spending whatever of her future with a non-blind person, a sighted person. And Jameson stepped to the plate. He said, okay, you're going to go this way? Pretend I'm blind. Introduce yourself to me. And Anne was like, that's not fair because you can already see. He goes, just trust me. Follow me down this path. Pretend I'm blind. Take my hands. Show me who you are. And I think we have to do that in life with other people that come into our life because they don't
know your story.
So you have to show them your story in a non-visual way. And there was a bit of underlying sexiness in that part, but it was more about discovering the things that you couldn't see. And that, to me, is a lot like life. There are a lot of underlying things just under the surface of what's in front of you that until you peel back the layers, kind of like trauma, you're going to peel back layers and layers and layers. You're going to go so deep, you're emotionally, maybe physically going to bleed a little bit until you're there at the core and you look back and you're like, you see all the layers of your life, all the hurt that were there. And then you're like, now what? Well, you either stay with your trauma or you get past it. That's all there is to it. You proceed forward or you go backwards into that trauma. But the decision to stay there is up to you. And that is where Jameson was coming from with her. He goes, you don't have to stay where you are. I'm not leaving you. I'll be here. I'll help you. And that's unfortunately what a lot of people in life are missing. They're missing that key component that
absolutely
puts their hand on you and says, I got you. You don't have to do this by yourself. So I guess my wondering point I'm trying to make in all this, I'm not involved a whole lot with what Sadie's doing, but I feel it. I'm learning just like she is. So when she does her speaking engagement, I probably will be sitting off in the corner somewhere observing, because it's not necessarily meant for me. It's meant for the people in the audience that will need it. But guess what? I'm gonna need it.
True.
So when you find yourself in an instance in your life when you're like, I got some things I need to work out, there may be times in that learning cycle when you can do it alone, and times when you need a buddy. You need a friend or a partner that can pick you up, kind of like that Psalms, or no, that Footprints in the Sand.
Yeah. It was then that I carried you.
So don't forget that sometimes things will get pretty heavy, and it's okay to reach out for help. You just have to be willing to peel off that armor that is preventing you from showing your weakness and admittance that you can't do it by yourself. And it's okay. We're all learning. I married a woman that I've known since 1985. And to make a even longer story short, we got together. I was more or less removed from my family because I married a divorced woman, and my dad at the time was pretty much the family dictator. I'm in charge, do as I say. Well, some of that, though, was also being controlled by the particular branch.
The church they were
going to.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, probably 2018, my brother was in town for work, and he got real serious with me for a minute. He goes, I want to start over. And we just kind of, he let loose more than I did. But he took off his armor, so to speak, his emotional protective armor, and he opened himself wide. He said, I'm tired of being the only brother in the family and doing things alone when I needed you to be there. And I said, you're right. What do we got to do to make this happen? So there we were, two grown men sitting in my vehicle. And I'm grabbing a napkin because we need to wipe some fluid from our face. But to summarize again what my lesson I'm trying to share that I learned, you got to go through some crap in your life, and you can't let other people steer your ship for you, because more often than not, they're going to steer your ship into a very dark harbor. Whether right or wrong, you have to go with your heart, you have to go with your gut, and you have to decide, is this what I want in my life? And that's what my brother and his wife, I think their story, maybe we'll have them on a podcast someday.
I think we should. That would be awesome.
They sat at a coffee shop. We've been there. It's really cool, down in Kansas City. They basically said, I don't like where we're at in life. And my sister-in-law was kind of feeling some stuff ahead of time. I think she was at a crossroads too. It's like, there's got to be more to this than what we've got right now. Good part for my wife and I is that it involved us too. So we all just kind of, it was a slow moving process, and I think Sadie resisted a little bit, if I'm being honest, because of the hurt was there. The hurt that was there.
It was because of me, basically, is what I felt like. So I was the cause of it. If I wouldn't have got divorced, if you and I wouldn't have got together, your family would never have fallen apart. That's not necessarily the case.
No, and because of it, we became stronger through it.
Yep.
And in the day and age we live in, where you've got so many things going on, I don't know if anybody's watched the news lately, the balloons going overhead, or the Ukraine war with Russia, or, if you believe in COVID as a real thing or not. We all have to have somebody to go through all of life together. Doesn't mean every waking moment you need to, you need someone sitting next to you or in front of you or driving your vehicle forward. It's good to have that one person in your life that says, hey, I got your load today. Let's go.
Yeah. And it's all about tearing down those layers and peeling back the you that used to be and making you into the person that you want to become.
The onion.
Yep. Just like an onion. But it helps to have somebody to help you through it. And I'm here to help you each week on the Daily Escape podcast to deal with those demons and those traumas. Nothing is too big to handle when we do this together.
That's right. Have coffee, we'll travel.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to just, you have anything else you want to talk about? Okay. I kind of wanted to
speaking from the cuff, so to speak.
That's okay. This was awesome. I just kind of wanted to wrap this up by reading just a little paragraph off the back of the book that I mentioned earlier by Dr. Nicole LaPera, How to Meet Yourself, the workbook for self-discovery. I would recommend, she's called the Holistic Psychologist, but I would recommend you guys getting this book too, and I'm about to work my way through this book page by page as well.
What's the other book you have? The Story of
Your Life? I can't remember the name of it, but it basically takes you line by line. You fill out your own life. It starts with your earliest memories through all of your life. It asks questions that define,
a book of you.
Yeah, that define who you are. But the back of this book, I felt like this kind of ties in every single thing that we've talked about today. It says, we all fall into conditioned patterns and habits, products of our past, that lead us to cycles of stuckness, pain, and self-destruction. But we also have the innate ability to awaken to and change the behaviors that no longer serve us, allowing us to step into the highest versions of ourselves. By objectively and compassionately observing the physical, mental, and emotional patterns that fill our days and create our current selves, we can more clearly see what we do not wish to carry into the future. And I think that's our point of where we are now, is we are in the midst of peeling back those layers and exposing our pain. And we're raw right now. We're not sure exactly what we want to do with the future or where this is going to lead us. But I am willing to say I want to meet myself, the me I was always supposed to be before all of this happened.
And you don't have to be our age to just suddenly jump on the life of discovery.
No.
You can be on any age. And I will...
The earlier you figure it out in life, the better. But
I will say the earlier in life you are able to be consciously aware of your emotional and physical, spiritual surroundings, take those with you in your life. However, I believe in life sometimes you have to live a little bit before you can really assess your life. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
You can't. It's kind of like
even the mistakes.
I'm not a drinker by any means. I wasn't raised that way. However, I do like a good glass of scotch. It's aged. It's pure. It's maybe not so pure. It's cooked in peat, but there's an aging process that we all must go, a curing that maybe says, hey, you've seen some things, haven't you? In order to appreciate life, you take a young child versus a well-aged adult. One has yet to live and experience life. The other has lived a life, hopefully, and has an appreciation for the things they've learned. Whether it be just, your average Joe that went to work, came home, they've still lived a life. Or a mountain climber, a skydiver, a zookeeper, an IT person that's become a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Or an office manager that has prevented a suicide person from preventing,
Yeah.
We have an appreciation for things that maybe a lot of other people don't have. And so, yeah.
I think the universe's hand has been in the middle of it all. It's time for us to be still and listen to get the rest of this figured out.
Exactly. So, am I saying go get yourself a book of oracle cards to predict your future? No. I'm saying we wanted to have a little fun and just to play around. However, we laid out the cards and it's like, oh.
It was in alignment with how we were already.
The more I kept flipping cards, I was like, uh-oh. This isn't just coincidence. So,
synchronicity.
Do I believe in an all-knowing, all-powerful hand of fate out there? I don't know. Do I believe in things that maybe are a little bit more, what's the right word here? A little bit more circumstantial?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because that could have applied to, like, John Doe down the street could have drawn the same cards I did and not had the same meaning behind them. So, yeah. And just find the little things in life like that just to play around. But understand that certain things aren't meant to be direct guides. They are simply maybe a less meaningful tool that's, up to you to decide what to do with. Whether you take it as a literal translation or like, hey, kind of right here, maybe we should listen, so.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna end with one of the oracle cards that I got that was called Home. It's card 27, and it just offers a few questions and some insight about some of these things we're talking about, also to maybe make your path a little bit more aligned with who you really are. It says, if you don't feel at home, it's time to do a thorough and fearless inventory. This is where I'm at. I don't know about fearless, but I am taking inventory and stock of my past. So what are you hiding from? Are you afraid of being yourself? Do you feel that you don't belong where you are? What if you choose another path? Does your understanding of home perhaps dictate that such a place must be unsafe, unstable, or unfulfilling, especially due to past trauma? It's time to love yourself and create the new sense of safety and security within. You might have chosen a situation that is familiar and led you back to the original source of your pain. This is what Stephen was talking about earlier, as far as my cards saying, hey, this is all going to continue to come full circle until you stop, get the heck off that same train wreck, and start over again. No matter, because this is an important and powerful invitation to a new you. Say no to the pain of the past. Say no to the voice of your inner critic. No to those who want to dim your light to make themselves brighter. Choose a new home, and we're talking metaphorically a new soul home. Take refuge in knowing that beauty and a true sense of belonging lie ahead. So, what are you going to do to explore your life's journey? What path are you going to take? What two roads are standing before you now that will lead you to your true authentic self?
And are you going to take the road less traveled?
That's right. Sometimes that's not always the road to take.
No.
Sometimes the other road is fraught with mountain passes and boulders the size of whole cities that you feel like you can't get beyond. But if we rise out of just survival mode and we learn to live through those traumas, that is the path that I want to take.
Sometimes you got to meet life head on.
Yep. All right. Well, I think if we don't have anything else, this has been another episode of us crossing over and sharing our thoughts and heart with you all to help you explore life's journey when your purpose is questioned. Hope you guys have a great Sunday and a great week ahead. Stay tuned for more of Have Coffee Will Travel.
Thanks for listening. This is Stephen St. Clair.
Sadie K. Frazier. See you on the flip side.
Peace out.